So God really does call two things in our eyes. This is in Genesis 2. He literally calls the clay of the earth and the spirituality, the breath, together into one, and let us make man, because man is both. And therefore, man has free will. He could choose good or he can choose evil. And it's interesting, this term, let us, is only used 3 times in Tanakh, and it's right here. That means what we do is we can look in the same neighborhood of passages, and we'll find that the us comes up again very soon. So we know that God is speaking to the angels in Genesis 1:26, because after Adam eats from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, he then cannot go into the Garden of Eden, and God calls upon fiery angels to prevent man. And it says, God says in Genesis 3:22, let us prevent men from becoming like one of us. That means
Christians are heretics, Rabbi Singer. You have completely convinced me about this angel doctrine. And I believe it so much that I'm going to become an evangelist for you in regards to this. Yes, you can officially call me your disciple. And I think that all of Christianity will be willing to compromise our old position and become your disciple too. Wow. Because we love to compromise as a religion. So I think we Christians will compromise all our positions from now on this angel doctrine, and at least meet you halfway. I hope you can meet us halfway too. And do you know something? As I think about this, do you know who else can help corroborate part of this angel doctrine? Wow, his name is Moses. It's hard to believe that Moses believed this too, but it is true. Well, a person cannot just make a claim. Common sense negates that I prove my position with Tanakh, but let's do a little bit of a quick review for those of you who are new to this discussion. The current rabbis are relying on nostalgia as a strategy, and it is getting harder and harder as the argument progresses in Genesis 1:26. I mean, I would say they lost, but whatever. Finesse is needed. In Genesis 1:26, we Christians refer to God, the one God in his Trinitarian form. Let me just add, all Christians believe God to be one. So saying God is one is moot to us. But we are just arguing that Tanakh teaches that the one God is made up of 3 persons, as you all know. Sometimes God is really singular, as in the main passage we will read from today, and other times God is, again, one in 3 persons. Let's continue. Let us make man in our image. The verb make, asa, in Genesis 1:26, is plural. In Hebrew grammar, that automatically makes the noun Elohim plural, but not the dual plural, which Hebrew has, but the 3 or more plural. Where the verb is singular in Tanakh following or coming before Elohim, we believe that is either referring to the 3 persons as one, or referring to one of the 3 persons individually. Context determines that, as it does with everything else. Hebrew grammar is what causes the problem for the rabbis, not the Christians. Because Moses is insinuating, at least, that God is at least 3. And this is not the only passage that Moses, who wrote Genesis, insinuates this. Moses does agree with Rabbi Singer in part, as I have said, that there is at least one angel in the God in Genesis 1:26. But let me just add, you really won the context debate on this one, Rabbi. Yep. Context is king in Genesis 1:26. With Alma in Isaiah 7:14. In Psalms 22, with like a lion are they pierced. You rabbis never just surrender. You fight valiantly. Let me rephrase that. As long as you will continue to fight the 1,000th best apologists in Christianity in a valiant way. Wow. I am impressed. And so are the stupid people that actually believe you. I'm sorry for using such strong words, but they're true and must be said, sadly. The fact that they follow you, even when you sound so dumb, I mean, another strong word, but I apologize. The fact that they follow you has nothing to do with the fact that you can cancel them from all their friends, synagogues, and social groups. No, it's because you actually don't run from our best soldiers in Christianity. Could you imagine if Rabbi Singer was brave enough to actually fight an apologist that was in the top 3? Wow! That could even make it to the prediction markets. We could bet on it and make some money. Now, could you imagine Rabbi Singer taking the worst beating that a Gentile or a Jew could ever unleash? Whoa. What would that do to Judaism? I'm sure Rabbi Singer thinks about that every single day. Sorry for going on that tangent. When the rabbis know they can't win a debate, they don't just give up. They don't just surrender. Otherwise, they would be the ones thrown out of the synagogues. I look forward to this day. And this is very important. If you want to debate them, they implement a Talmudic argumentation technique called Efshar Lomar, meaning it is possible to say. If a reading is possible, the objection fails. The argument therefore becomes defensive rather than demonstrative. With Genesis 1:26, there has been about 10 historical rebuttals throughout history, as far as I am aware of. With all of these explanations, they are not trying to win an argument. They are just trying not to lose. It's like playing a game of chess to draw a game or have your opponent lose on timed disqualification. This is important to know. Sometimes chess players only have to draw to win the tournament. And that's all the rabbis have to do to keep up this facade of a religion. This is what unites them. And when I give this explanation, they will try to ignore it. But if they cannot, because too many people adopt it, they will try Efshar Lomar, or they will debate a person who we have never heard of, someone who is intelligent but couldn't fight themselves out of a wet paper bag, someone who is not battle tested. That's why Judaism is bleeding followers, because they'd rather be nothing or a Messianic Jew rather than a coward. You can search through the Talmud, even in relation to Genesis 1:26, and see the old rabbis even use the phrase Efshar Lomar. And these are the other phrases in the Talmudic dialect that are very similar. The contemporary rabbis that we are debating with might not be intelligent enough to know that not intelligent enough to know this, but this is their argumentation technique that they are using today. This is the core facade of their doctrine. Like we have the Trinity, they have Efshar Lomar. So expect a rebuttal of this video to sound like this. Instead of the rabbis conceding an error, which I am going to make it very obvious that they are in error, the rabbis might say something like the grammar could mean something else, the speaker could be addressing blah, 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 the phrase could be figurative, the plural could be rhetorical, or whatever they come up with. If a reading is possible, the objection fails. The argument therefore becomes defensive rather than demonstrative. It's our job as apologists for God to sew the argument so tight that they are frightened even to say our names, in fear that they will be exposed. All most people care about is common sense. And after I'm done with the 10 other possible nostalgic interpretations that the rabbis have produced on this topic, I'll post them in the comments section. You can tell me in the comments section which one makes more sense, this one or the one I'm giving, or theirs. The angel of Yahweh found Hagar near a spring in the desert. It was the spring that is beside the road to Shur. And he said, Hagar, slave of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going? I'm running away from my mistress Sarai, she answered. Then the angel of Yahweh told her, so, Go back to your mistress and submit to her." The angel added, "I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count." The angel of Yahweh also said to her, "You are now pregnant, and you will give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard your misery. He will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, and he will live in hostility towards all his brothers." She gave this name to Yahweh, who spoke to her. "You are the God who sees me." Well, now the editorial comment by Moses at the end here confirms Rabbi Singer's nostalgic regurgitation regarding at least one angel being present at creation. And this is why. She gave this name to Yahweh, who spoke to her. Remember, the angel of the Lord is the one who initiates the conversation at the start of the story. And Moses, in his editorial comment, called the angel of the Lord Yahweh. So, using common sense, if Judaism is allowed to use common sense, or do you get kicked out for that too? That would be the name of the angel that was present with God in the creation of man and partaking in the creation of man. It's Elohim, which is the object of that creation. And part of that Elohim is the angel of the Lord, then the Father, then the Holy Spirit, making up three. Now, Yahweh is one, we all know that. But one of the Yahwehs is also called the angel of the Lord. Sometimes we get a clear glimpse into how these two Yahwehs function, like in the now infamous story of Sodom and Gomorrah, made popular by two powers in heaven. Then Yahweh rained brimstone and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from Yahweh out of heaven. Two Yahwehs. It's very obvious. In Isaiah 44:24, this is what it says. "I am Yahweh, who makes all things, stretching out the heavens alone." Now, let's look at this verse. Which Yahweh makes all things? The one in heaven in Genesis 19:24, or the one on earth? The one who's with Hagar, who is also called the angel of the Lord? Look, there was a time when I really wanted to, inside, believe what you believe. That oneness cannot mean three and God is only one. But the evidence contradicts it massively. But God is still one. You can read it over and over and over again in your own language, in Greek and Hebrew, in whatever language you want, Aramaic. There is no way around it. But let me just show you also from Tanakh. Who else believed that we had creators and makers rather than a maker or a creator? But let me just say, I believe everyone in Tanakh believed it. But some of our prophets knew. We'd have this silly debate about the Trinity, so they made it very obvious, or they at least hinted it very obviously. And for some reason, this did not make it into the two powers of heaven. I don't know why. Unless my memory does not serve me well. Correct me in the comments section, though, if I'm wrong. In that day, people will look to their Maker, singular, and turn their eyes to the Holy One of Israel. Okay? Isaiah says God is a maker. It looks like he believes God was talking to angels. But then Isaiah clarifies his position about who are our makers. "For your makers is your husband. The Lord Almighty is his name. The Holy One of Israel is your Redeemer. He is called the God of all the earth." Referring to God as maker, and makers is no pun intended, is exactly what Trinitarians do. We refer to God as one because he is, again, no pun intended, and we refer to his oneness sometimes in the plural, just like Isaiah is. The common sense conclusion is, I'm using this too much. Isaiah was a Trinitarian who knew the angel of the Lord would be born of a virgin, and who knew the angel of the Lord was creating with God in Genesis 1:26. And that's why the verb was plural. I hope you see this as me trying to meet you halfway, Rabbi. I'm really, really trying. Solomon says, as you do not know the path of the wind or how the body is formed in the mother's womb, so you cannot understand the work of God, the maker, singular, of all things. Solomon, oh no. It looks like he believes God was talking to angels too. But then Solomon clarifies his position about who are our makers. Remember your creators in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come upon, and the years approach when you will say, I find no pleasure in them. If you follow the rabbis, it's so obvious that you are an adulterer. Yeah, you don't worship statues, you worship synagogues, you worship friendships, and the culture that you have created over the last 2,000 years that is in direct contravention of the culture that existed before the birth of the angel of the Lord, who we call Jesus Christ. Idol worshippers throughout history are known to try their best to hijack religions, and Judaism was hijacked by the heretics, the Pharisaic rabbis. Like Jehovah's Witnesses or other Christian cults tried to hijack Christianity, we have records going all the way back, as far back as the Gnostics, which affected both Judaism and Christianity. Pagans, sorry to use such a strong word, but that's what you are. See these amorphic texts. And this really takes us back to where our conversation began in the first sentence of this video that I said. Who are heretics? I'm using strong words again because I might as well be clear. All heretics do is scour texts trying to find something that they already believe, and they take ambiguous passages and make it into whatever they want to. This is what pagans do. The statue you worship is the fear of being thrown out of the synagogue, Rabbi Singer, and away from your Jewish culture for the common sense interpretation of Tanakh.